So welcome to Flight of the Skydancer for October 2019. And we have something I think very important to discuss today. And I'm so sad that Holly couldn't be here because I really wanted her to get to talk with us about this. And it's related to what she posted about this week with the Plastic Priestesses, basically, commercial priestesses. And I am sitting with something about this that is just so intense, and trying to I feel like we're in a variety of different ways, we're boring into like wood beetles into a very hard wood with this situation, and that we will make our inroad. But here we are. I just wanted to address a couple of things. First is that we are coming up on the end of our training, and the end of this year's training, and I have been contemplating what next. Where do we go from here? And so what I've established is a new layer of membership in the temple, and this is totally of your own volition. If you'd like to continue, you're going to be taking your priestess vows and released to the world to do your great work either way. But if you'd like to continue with support, what I have intended for 2020 is to start something called Council of Wisewomen, and it would be for graduates of the 2-year training. And it's not going to have lessons, but there will be 3 emails a month about ancestress profiles, and I will be writing some of those. And in time, other members of that Council of Wisewomen will also be writing profiles of ancestresses who are meaningful to you. And we'll be sharing them with the other wise women. So we're going to become a co-teaching circle, and that wouldn't have to be that you have to research someone every month. It might be that once a year you would pick an ancestress, or maybe twice a year. You'd pick an ancestress a woman in history, or a woman in your own family who is important to you, and write about her in the same way that I've been writing about the ancestresses that we've been studying this year. And in time, maybe some of the lessons that you've shared about historical ancestresses would be added into the training for the year 1 and 2 students, because that eventually we will be every year adding new ancestresses to our list of saints of the temple. So that's the next step, and there would be 3 emails a month with ancestress profiles and working with ancestresses specifically as part of this Council of Wise Women. And the other thing that it would involve is once a month this meeting, but this meeting will change starting in 2020. Instead of it being more of a lecture format where I talk about a lot of stuff to you, it will be actually a gathering where we sit in council, and we go around and we talk about our work, what we're doing. We share, this is coming up with my business, or this is coming up with my women's circle. We give each other advice and support. And the other thing about the Council of Wise Women is that every single month you will have a candle with your name on it dedicated to your work in the world, lit on the temple's altar and tended through the month, so that you have some support from the temple coming to you for everything that you're doing. The fee that I've worked out for this is $35 a month. That includes the ancestral lessons, the meeting, the us being able to just talk and text about your projects whenever you want, and a candle burned on the altar in your honor and in honor of your work. So if you'd like to go for it, and just so you know, I'm not actually a subscriber to my own Patreon, because I write it, right? Why would I be? But as your co-priestess in this, I will also be subscribing to that level of the Patreon. I will be lighting a candle with my own name on it, as well as candles with your names on them. I'm going to join you in this. So I want you to see that in this space, I'm the teacher, and we've all signed up for that. But in the space that is to come, I'm the center holder, facilitator, making sure that the space happens, but we are going to co-lead and teach each other. And it's a very important distinction for me, that we have another next level space to be our priestess selves together in community. And where in that community, my intention is to be more vulnerable with you, to ask your advice, to help you with your projects as a mentor, but also as just a peer and friend. And that we together are going to be holding this center. So that's where the training is headed from here into the non-training graduate space. And what would be nice about this, I think, over time, is that all the graduates of the program ultimately will end up in this same layer with us, so that they become our peers. They, someone who's in a first year now, 2 years from now, would then enter the circle of priestesses, and she'd have us as peers and mentors if we'd like to stay on with it. And if you don't want to, that's fine too. No pressure at all. I just want you to know that it's available and that I myself am excited about it. Second thing, and so let me pause there if there's any questions. Any questions about that, or do you want to, okay, great. If you have any, just let me know. I'll be writing about it in your next lessons. Second thing is, I know I owe you lesson 30. That's coming this week. October was sort of a long month, so I've spread us out a little bit more. But lesson 30 will come this week, and then Goddesses and Guides number 30 will also come probably this week. Third thing, your singing bowl. This month, we are gathering the next tool in our set of tools, and this is the singing bowl. And I wanted to share with you, I've shared with you like the meaning of the singing bowl. It's in your lesson that it's the voice of the cosmos. You can meditate with it. Your inner songs will emerge. It clears energetic channels and creates harmonic frequencies in physical space. It can relax the thinking mind. If you choose it by sound rather than by look, it will synchronize with the song of your heart, which sometimes we pick them up because we think they look good, and then we listen and it doesn't sound right. So choose it and sometimes we order it online and it comes and it doesn't sound right. So if that's the case, I do suggest trying to get it in person so that you can hear it before you play it. Or if you order one and it doesn't sound right to you, send it back and exchange it. Don't keep one that doesn't work for you. There have been studies that have shown that listening to singing bowls imparts healing energy to the body. And we know that it cleanses the aura with sound healing. And it's one way that our lineage connects with weather spirits. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that means, but one of the things that it can mean, I'm fondling this reindeer skin under which I have a big crystal singing bowl. I bet you didn't know that. I have 2 of them actually. These ginormous crystal singing bowls. Well, Chrissy knows, she's seen them before. But what I do with these, and Chrissy received some of this, and we're going to do this at the retreat this year for the first years, is that they get to lay down on some sheepskins that I have, and we play our singing bowls around them. and we give them a cleansing. So that's going to be one of the activities that we're doing. And I'll bring the singing bowls on Thursday night to the retreat so that you all can have a treatment too. But one of the things that you can do with my wily deer here, one of the things you can do with your singing bowl is you can put water inside of it, play the singing bowl, and then use that water to make arshan and consecrate that arshan with your personal meteorite, and then take it outside and fling it onto the ground to call a rain. Or you can take it and you can pour it into a vessel and screw the cap on for a sunny day. Or you can take some and make it ice cubes in the refrigerator and put them out to bring a snowstorm if that's something that's needed. Like if there's been a drought, for example. One of the things that I do is I'll make ice cubes and I take them outside and I put them at the base of my peace tree and I ask for snow at the top of the mountain. So these are some of the things you can do weather working with your singing bowl water. So in addition to being a meditative device and a communicative device, it also can help you make an arshan that you use specifically for weather, where you condition it with sound, and you condition it then maybe with mantra over it if you want, and you condition it by breathing on it, and you condition it by putting the meteorite in it, which meteorites, I associate meteorites with weather phenomena because of the Buryat shaman Zadai stone. The stone that's used to call upon the weather is often a meteorite. And then you can freeze it, pour it, trap it, whatever you need to do. If you do decide like, oh, it's like a wedding today and we really need a sunny day, so I'm going to pour my weather arshan into a bottle, a jar. I'm going to make weather arshan, pour it into a bottle or jar, and then put a cap on it. Just keep in mind that you really do then have to like release it the next day. That when we do weather arshan versus just regular everyday arshan, the weather arshan needs to be used right away. You don't like keep it somewhere trapped. You don't keep weather trapped ever. We can kind of negotiate with weather, but we never want to trap it, and we never want to totally disperse it. We want to work with it, and we want to say, okay, how can we have a reasonable circumstance here where we have sun for the wedding, rain for the crops, snow for the mountain. So that's a little bit about the singing bowl and arshan. This month's moon and rain has been crying every day for me, has just been crying every single day. And I'm not the only one. I texted with Bernice yesterday. She has been crying every day as well. Anybody else had a little bit of a waterfall? Carol says yes, a little waterfall this month.
I haven't had a waterfall, but what I've been saying is I'm in the eye of the storm, and that's what it feels like. They're really intense.
Yes, in the eye of the storm. And Chrissy says not crying but depressed. Yeah, there's a heavy watery energy for sure, and depression can be a very heavy watery energy because it's emotional and watery, and at the same time really heavy. And depression, I think, almost is like a cloud that has reached that precipitation point but has not inundated. And so, in our lesson this week, I talked a little bit about that, about the water cycle, evaporation, precipitation, and coalescence. And when it coalesces, then you feel relief. And in fact, this isn't so different than if you've ever experienced like before your period, where you just have days of feeling depressed, down, stuck, uncomfortable, bloated, grumpy, and then you start bleeding and everything is like better. And you're like, oh, finally, And so coalescence within the body and release is, I think, depression is what happens when something either in our chemical makeup or in our psychological profile, or just due to trauma or whatever, due to the fact that we live in a really difficult time right now, when it precipitates, but it doesn't coalesce and finally inundate. So I might just make a loving suggestion, Chrissy, because I know you've been so this whole year really open and transparent about like the ups and downs of depression, and you're still doing remarkable things in the world even though you have depression. So I don't really feel like I have any advice to say, oh, here's how to be more functional with depression. I think you're already doing a great job. But my one piece of advice that I might lovingly offer as your sister is to watch a movie that will make you cry, so that you can have what you need, so that you can inundate. Because I have to say, this full-on crying, even though it's been very difficult, it feels very cleansing. And Bernice and I compared notes last night about this, and she said the same thing. She's like, it's not bad, it's just happening. And it actually feels like something's moving. So I'd like us to think about moon and rain, a dimension of moon and rain, as the healing power of our tears. And Shuni Hiron, who's going to be here next week and beyond for Day of the Dead, she says that when she says, when you cry, your tears permeate the universe and wipe away humanity's sorrows. This is her Mayan Aki view of tears, that our tears permeate the heart of the universe. They call it heart of heaven, heart of earth. That's like that's their axis mundi, heart of heaven, heart of earth in the Mayan tradition. So she says, your tears penetrate the heart of heaven and wipe away the suffering of humanity. So as priestesses, one of the things that we have a lineage of in the past, in both the Celtic tradition, but also amongst women in India, in the Middle East, and in other areas, certainly Italy and Roma, we have a long tradition of weeping for humanity, professional mourning, crying, keening, wailing, ululating. It's mimicking like our anguished cries. And it's all part of our sacred responsibility. So when we allow ourselves to cry, we heal. And we heal not only for us, we heal for everybody. So when you cry, because if you really think about it too, at this point in this program, if I've taught you anything, it's to see the suffering of the world and to have compassion for it. You know, if there's one thing that I've hoped that you're walking away from all this with, it's to have exquisite sensitivity to the suffering of the world and how hard we're all trying. How hard we're all trying. So when we cry, we allow ourselves to have that kind of compassion. And I'm just gonna, chronic depression can be very difficult. And yeah, Chrissy says, well, you've got me crying now. Just doing my job, ma'am. And yes, we all need to do some crying. It is a sacred aspect of our work. And it is also something that goes with the singing bowl. If you really think about it, the singing bowl is this beautiful creative sound, but it's also the sound of our tears. So let's work for the rest of this month, especially because it's the month of the ancestors, and holding it together. I'm holding it together. But wow, it's coming up on a year since my dad died, and oh my goodness. Whole new level for me in this life. So as we're working our way through the season of the ancestors, let's permeate the universe with our tears and let's heal the world, at least the world as far as we can see it. So that's about singing bowls, crying, moon over rain, and Council of Wisewomen. And I'm glad I've gotten through all of this now, because I wanted to leave us a half hour to discuss this other subject of, you know, the world of commercial priestesshood. It's disheartening. Talk about crying. I have actually cried about it. And the reason I cry about it is because there's something so self-centered about it, and it's not giving. And to me, to be a priestess isn't to be some kind of like rock star. It's to give. It's to give. And yesterday, Holly sent me, she said, here's one of the things that keeps popping up. And it's a woman standing there scantily clad that says, as a priestess, there's nothing you need to be but you. As I see it, I am a priest, as I am her priestess, I am committed to seeing you and holding you as your priestess truth, not trying to fit you into a mold of what a priestess looks like or says or feels or even what she does, but just doing you like a rock star priestess. Not queen of the misfits, or not queen of the perfect women who have all their shit together, not queen of those who are nice and put other people first, not queen of people who make no mistakes. And it just goes on, and it's like, and then it ends with, she wants us to really fully, to really do life fully, to fuck it up, to figure stuff out and free ourselves from our own limitation. Now, I've met the woman who posted this, and she was very nice, you know, if a little young. And I say that, you know, she's got a lot to offer, but she hasn't been tempered by suffering, and it's clear. And one of the things I've been thinking about our priestesshood and about who we are and about the kind of women we attract to work with us and about the kind of work we do in the world, it is about acknowledging suffering, and it's about being authentic, but it actually is about being kind to others, and it actually is about helping people, and it actually is about creating joy in the world to the best of our ability. And it actually is about recognizing that, no, I'm not actually just perfect the way I am with nothing that needs to change. I'm not flawless. I have things I can work on. I'm doing my work. I vow to keep doing my work. And as such, I wanted to introduce one thing, and then I wanted to open it up to hear what you have to say on this subject. But I did want to share with you our year 2 vows, what they will be. So as you know, I'm going to repeat our year 1 vows in case you haven't looked at them in a minute. For the benefit of all beings, I commit to holy presence. I commit to right action, heartfelt compassion, and gentle nature. I commit to expansive wisdom, divine creativity, quiet knowing and conscious devotion. I commit to Mother Earth and all her sacred creatures. I commit to being an embodiment of Goddess, radiating oneness light and creating heavenly fields of beauty within and without. I commit to love for myself, for others, and for the sake of my priestess path. I commit to using my tools, power, and skills within the shimmering landscape of appearances mindfully and carefully. I commit to a lifelong journey of learning and understanding, and I embrace opportunities to grow. And then your own vow, mine is, I commit to living in the magic. Our year 2 vows, we only have 4. And there will be, one of them has a sort of creative component that's your own. So here's what we're going to be vowing at the end of the year. And I think that in context of what we're seeing out there with kind of commercial priestesshood, that it's important to bring this to the table. I vow to bring the best of myself to my sacred service as a priestess of the goddess of this lineage and in the world, sharing my energy and wisdom humbly, generously, and mindfully. I vow to care well for the mandala of my goddess for the mandala of the goddess that I am creating in my practice, understanding that through this mystery portal, the goddess brings her gifts to earth. I vow to meet both blessings and challenges that appear on my path with gentleness, compassion, determination, and magic, and to be fully human as well as fully divine. I vow, and you state your own vow about your path of service. I vow to be a faithful and creative priestess of blah, blah, blah in the Mount Shasta Goddess Temple, serving spiritual pilgrims and seekers near and far with my creation of sacred space, services, ceremonies, and charitable activities. And I've written these so that they're worded very directly. By the time December comes, they might be a little more poetic, but this is the tone and the tenor of what we're going to be agreeing to. We're agreeing to show up for the mandala of the goddess that we are creating in the world with devotion and compassion and love and reverence, and that we are giving the work of that mandala as a service to humanity to end suffering. So if by ending suffering, it means you start a wonderful product line that people then can help themselves because they can take beautiful baths, great. If you're starting a service that helps people find their roots, like Carol, that's fantastic. If you're starting a service like Mia that helps people to find their path, perfect. But it's that we're really clear, and I think you all are, and I think that's why this sort of stuff that we're reading kind of grates on us, that what we're here to do is actually to make ourselves to make ourselves better and to bring that better self every day to the world as a gift to the world. So whether that's with our students, our clients, our colleagues, our circle of wise women, our sisters, whatever it is, we're giving it as our gift to the world. And I think because of that commitment being at the heart of our training, and certainly at the heart of everything that I've done for the past decade, we look at something like this where, even though I do agree that we all have to be fully human, and that, yeah, we sometimes have to fuck it up, and that we're not always perfect, I also see here that this is a lot of self, self, self. And Holly's comment was priestess of the self. And frankly, to me, priestess of the self is our level 1 work. It's like our first year work. Sure, being priestess of yourself is our first year. But we're at a point now where if you've got it, share it. So Yes, Chrissy says self-worship. That's exactly it. It's not me going and being grateful for the goddess within and without. It's me substituting my ego for goddess. It's exactly, you hit it right on the head. So I'm curious about your thoughts about this and how this came up in our group the other day and how you feel about it. And we read what Holly had to say, which was, on the subject, which was really, I thought she said it very well, that it's not that I want to demean anyone else's work. It's just that I really do feel like there's a bigger end goal than self-worship here. So what are your thoughts, sisters? And give a wave or jump in if you feel like it. Go ahead, Carol.
I think a lot of people are and we've talked about this before, I think a lot of people are so desperate for some kind of framework, and they don't want to do the work that goes along with this kind of path. I mean, because this is hard work to do when you have to look at yourself and confront yourself in the way that you are, and confront the parts of yourself that might not be so pretty. And yeah, no, nobody's perfect, and that's all great and fine. But, like you said, to sit and just say, yeah, well, this is me, and that's it, that doesn't do anything. So these people aren't willing to do any work. They're just like, yeah, I'm just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you get to be a priestess. That doesn't make you a priestess. That doesn't make you. Now, I mean, you can be a priestess of yourself. That's fine. But I see a lot of people out there, it's about money. It's about status. It's about getting people to look at them. And it's just it's part of the influencer culture that you see out there. You're an influencer. And I've struggled with it as well. I had the shop, and then I had the ball, and then, I had all these people. I have like over 11,000 people on my Witches Ball page. When I had my shop page, hell, my dog has a Facebook page, the one that died, and he's got almost 800 friends. So that's where I was 10 years ago. And I was like, it didn't feel good, because you have all these people that are like, look at you, look at me, look at me. And I'm like, but this isn't about me. This is about these products that I make, so that because I'm trying to give my talent to the world so that they can use it to do things for themselves. And I was told repeatedly, but you need your name on that. And I'm like, this isn't about me. The Witches Ball wasn't about me. It was supposed to be a gathering, a magical gathering at Samhain for people to come together and celebrate who we are as alternative type people, witches and whatnot. And it just became this monster. And then I was like, fuck it. Nope. Finished. And that's when I started a few years ago, realizing that I needed to find some kind of circle that was not about that, because I've been solitary forever. I've never been initiated into anything, because I was like, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. And so that's what kept me for so long, because I didn't want to do that work. And I don't know, it's really uncomfortable, and it makes me mad when I look at these people. And like Holly said, there's a little bit of envy too, because you see people and they're just pulling in money hand over fist on the backs of people that don't know any better. And it pisses me off, because I want to make money too.
Oh, I hear that. And I've tried to make it very distinct. Like, when people pay for the training,
and it's not about that either, too. Now that's I want to be real clear about that. When you're training somebody, in this, money is an energetic exchange, and it's a valid form of energetic exchange, because you have to pay for the space that you're in. You have to pay for the internet and the website and all the things that you use to disperse this information.
Right.
So that's fine. It's not that. It's not that mutual kind of exchange thing where you're going to give me money to support the things that I need to do for you, right, to do this work in the world. That's different. I don't have a problem with people doing that. What I do have a problem are people that are 20 and not to disparage anybody young, the youth is our future. I have, my daughters, well, they're getting older now. They're 30 and 34. They're wonderful women, but they don't know what I know because I've been around longer. I mean,
Right.
and that's just the way that it is. But if you're 22 or 23, you're not priestessing anything to me.
That's right.
I will listen because I want to hear your point of view on the world, because they're coming up differently. And I always want to hear that, because it does influence my perspective on things. But don't come to me when you're 22 and tell me that, I'm doing something wrong, or I'm not valid anymore because I have this hair and I'm somebody's grandmother. And I just posted about that on my page today. Older women or women with experience are invisible.
That's right.
And, it's pretty infuriating.
Well,
to
that's
see
right.
Youth culture. And it's youth culture. It's youth culture. And then, of course, the cancel culture. You post that video that was posted about Brooke
Medicine
and
Eagle.
I was watching that, and I've seen this woman disparaged publicly
Everywhere
for so long.
For years.
For so long. And they make fun of her and call her the plastic shaman and all this other thing. This woman is not. She's not. I mean,
third member of the Crow tribe. She's
yes,
roles, and then described the land, and I felt like.
Did that hit home? I mean, she can't even correct her own Wikipedia page. Someone made a Wikipedia page about this woman that's filled with bullshit.
And she can't even correct it. And it's she herself.
She can't. And you know what? She's not. And that's the whole thing, is coming into the I guess the grace of acceptance, which sounds really Catholic. I don't know. You know how that goes. It's difficult work. And so this superficial bullshit that's peddled is not, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking, at Chrissy's face. She's sad. I can see it. I can feel it, but her work is, she's doing difficult work, whatever it is. And part of the work that we do in our group is, if she wants it, we get to look, if she wants to share it, at the ugly side and the hard side, and support that. And to me, the other stuff is all about the pretty side, the pretty clothes, the skinny little young women with no gray hair, no wrinkles, no stretch marks, no fat, no double chin, no chin hairs, no nothing.
Tell me about the chin hair.
Anyway, I'm monopolizing. So, but it makes me really upset and angry, because I see people coming in that, having an advanced college degree in psychology doesn't make you a better priestess than somebody who didn't graduate from high school but has years of work behind them.
That's right.
It's about supporting each other and supporting our sisters who need our assistance, because it's going to come a time when I'm going to be, crying on camera because I'm so, because I have that dip up and down too. I mean, we all do. So anyway.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying here. And one of the things that you said that I just really want to tease out here is that this goes back to why I feel like what we need ultimately is a council where we sit in council with each other, and where we observe certain protocols that do dignify elder women. So it's my thought that in our council, elder women speak first, for example. That, like, when we're sharing in a circle, maybe the first pass around the circle, the elder women speak first, and then after that it can become more conversational. But that there needs to be that, because we do need to start to go to the feet of our elders and say, instead of saying, you fucked up everything and left us with this crazy world, we actually need to be saying, we know you tried your best and that it's not been easy. What have you learned?
Yeah.
And so there's that piece of it. And I do think that the money aspect is huge. I mean, that's what I was going to say for myself, is that the money aspect of this, I've never collected a salary for priestessing, not ever. And even when I get paid to teach these classes that I teach, all of that money goes to paying for the space, paying other things. It's not paying me. I don't get a check written to my name that says this is my paycheck for this work. Never. And I've never done in over a decade. And instead, I sell crystals. I do readings. I teach other types of classes. I work as a maid in a hotel. I, do any number of things that I make money doing for myself. But the rest of it is to support the temple, to sustain the temple, to keep that going. So I think that one of the things for us to be thinking about is, and this is one of the things that I do think is a little bit different about our priestesshood from other priestesshoods, is that I like for us to be thinking about what we give away in addition to what we do for sustenance. So what we give away is important. And I know, for example, Carol, you've helped many, many people with their genealogy, especially adoptees, for free, and helps them.
Thousands of hours of work.
And I know, with so many of our different endeavors, whatever it is that we're doing, we can always find a way to give back. And so that's why I included in our second year vows, that last vow that talks about our charitable activities. And I may find a more elegant way to say charitable activities rather than that, which sounds a little stuffy. But I want it to be clear that we are here to do altruistic practice that has absolutely nothing to do with money, with fame. And that if by virtue of our good work in the world, people know who we are, great. If by virtue of our good work in the world, people want to support us, fantastic. But that there always be a heart of motivation at the center of our priestesshood that isn't about money or fame or accolades, but rather is about doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do, being who we are because it's who we are regardless of how anyone else is acting, and honoring the divine with reverence in front of, before we would honor ourselves. So saying I will go and I will put the goddess in front of me, like Athena putting the breastplate of Pallas, on. I will put the goddess upon me, going before me in the world. Right. So those are some further thoughts, and I wanted to leave a little time too, if Chrissy or Mia had anything you wanted to share on this subject. Chrissy, go right ahead, honey.
I just wanted to sort of compare it to other religions, such as Christianity, where you can see these people go showmen, it's all about the show. They say things but don't act on it. And, when I see these sort of plastic shamans, I'm like, well, that's not the point, sort of like with when Christians are talking about, but, not the immigrants and not this, it's about everybody, and it's about the suffering and not just about the glamour. It's about being sad and not just being happy all the time. It's about learning lessons, and also just as far as elder women go, when I did the retreat last year, I was very quiet, and Bernice was like, "You're very quiet." And I was like, "But I'm also young, and I want to listen from the other women who I think know more or have different experiences." And I was really there to listen. And I think as a younger person in the group, I would love to have more elder women and listen. It's so much easier to listen first before you ask questions. Maybe they'll answer all your questions. So I'm looking forward to the circle.
I want to say though, don't let that feel like your voice is invalidated or it's not valid. I don't know how old you are. I suspect you're around my daughter's ages, maybe. Are you in your 20s? How old are you? Huh?
36.
36. Okay, so you're a little bit older than my oldest daughter. Their voices are super powerful to me because they are coming from a different perspective that allows me to stay current with what's going on with the women who are coming behind me, because the challenges are a little bit different than they were when I was in my 30s, just a little bit different. We all have the common thread, but your voice is still powerful. And that respect is I love it, because that's for any older woman to give respect like that is really important. But your voice is important too. So listen, but you also get to speak, because
that's right.
Yeah, you also get to speak, because it's really important. What you have to say is important as well.
I was just going to say, Chrissy, how great that you're getting to come back for a second year. And in this year, you will naturally, and how do I want to put this? Like, it is the natural next step for you, because you're now through your second year, to be in a little bit more of a leadership position at this retreat than you were at the last one, right? So the thing is, and I think this is actually just so important, the number one antidote to imposter syndrome is doing your work. Mm-hmm. If you work your way up in something, whether it's I'm working my way in seniority of age time, or I'm working my way due to efforts that I've accomplished, or I'm working my way along a path of growth and learning. When you've done your work and you can look back and see your work behind you and go, I made this, I did that, I did this mandala, I drew the picture, I did the stones, I did the things, I did the blessing, I have the peace tree, I have the other peace tree, da-da-da-da-da. You look at it and then there's nothing to prove. There's nothing to prove. It's all right there. You are who you are. And then, even if you are a younger person, you know your place in the circle. You know you have a place. You know that the elders have their place, and that it's not that their place is above yours, but that their place is further along than yours. And so, of course, you want to hear what they have to say. But you also don't shy away from having your voice, because the women who really need your voice, Chrissy, for example, would be the women in their 20s. And the 20-year-old can certainly be the priestess of the 13-year-olds. That's fine with me. But she's not going to be the priestess of the 45-year-olds, I'll tell you that right now. Like, she can bring her inspiration. She can bring her wisdom. I'll take it under advisement. But it's highly unlikely that she'll be able to address as a priestess the full breadth of what I would need as a person seeking, right? Being that I'm 25 years older than her. It doesn't mean that I can't teach older women, but realistically, in all of my relationships with women older than myself, who I've taught, Carol, you're one of them, and others, I'm teaching you systems and methodologies and reflecting to you the wisdoms that I see that you carry already, but I'm not presuming that I know more than you about you. Whereas if I'm talking as a 45-year-old to a 20-year-old, I do actually know more about that young woman and her life than she might think I know, because I have my experience of it. So I'm not going to tell her who she is, but when she comes and she says to me something like, I just feel like I've found my one true calling in this particular goddess, I'm liable to say, if you can sustain this devotion for 10 years, it'll probably last a lifetime, but it might change. Or there might be other goddesses who come in, so don't close your doors. Right. So I like that we have a place and in the circle. And there's an age-based place in the circle, and then other times, an age-based place in our mandala, and then other times there's a directional place, an elemental place that we have in the mandala, where we're in a watery place or we're in a fiery place or whatever. Other times there's going to be other configurations of this mandala that's always sort of shifting and moving and dynamic, because it's not just a circle, it's a sphere, and it's always dancing. So we get to develop this. And I think that, you know, as we do this, we can genuinely look to all the indigenous models we've studied. It's why I teach them, because I want us to be able to look and go, oh, this is how they do it, and this is how they do that. And look, it's all already out there. This is known. You know, so I agree with you, Chrissy, that, you know, I appreciated your quiet presence at the retreat last year and your receptivity of everything. And then I'm feeling really excited to welcome you back exactly this year as the next step, where you take a little more leadership and your voice comes out a little bit more if you so choose to share, and where you are knowing in your own self, look at all the work that I've done, look how far I've come. Because to me, that's the greatest reward, really, is to see you in your fullness, no imposter syndrome, totally confidently, I know what I'm here to do, because Goddess and I have been working on it. So before we close, Mia, I wanted to see if there was anything you cared to share on this important subject.
Yeah, actually, on a similar note to the plastic priestess or whatnot, I live in South Florida, and it can be a really superficial culture. There are pockets of, you know, not superficial, but I'll see events, I'll see something on Facebook that people I know have responded to and be like, ooh, goddess something or other, and I'll think, this looks interesting, but, you know, I'll look at it, and the person running it is, you know, young, in their 20s, scantily clad, and it's all about, you know, sparkles and, oh, everybody, let's put on crowns and be goddesses, which isn't necessarily bad, but it doesn't really address, you know, anything below that superficial layer. And, you know, they're charging money, sometimes like a lot of money for these things, and it just seems so shallow. And yeah, totally, it's like a different definition of anything goddess and priestess than what I know. So it's strange.
You know, I'm glad you bring up that, you know, this thing, and we've all mentioned it, the scantily clad. And frankly, you know, it's really funny if I think about it. I went from being a woman who used to do all of my rituals naked, whether I was in public or in private, to being a woman who covers my head and covers from my neck to my ankles. And it's not because I've become an extremist. It's because I've realized that regardless of how much my intention might be different, when people see a scantily clad woman, they automatically have cultural assumptions about her.
Yep.
That are just invisibly embedded into our consciousness. Like that scantily clad business is, I'm not trying to like shame anybody for it at all. I think we should wear whatever we want. And if somebody is sort of generally naked running around with their, that's fine. And I've been in spaces where women were like that, old, young, fat, skinny, and we were all kind of scantily clad. And that's its own whole energy, like a bunch of women of all ages, shapes, and sizes, scantily clad, dancing around a fire and a drum circle is a beautiful, innocent, healing, holy thing. My priestess friend, Molly, who's in the first year of this training now, but who actually has done 10 years of training with me, more than that, before this. We trained each other, she and I. She says, breasts heal the world. That just the reason that all these art and all of these things depict like the nude female form is because to see the nude female form is healing. And it's a primordial form of healing. It's a relationship to the primordial mother. And when we are in reverence to that, it has a feeling to it. But at other times, I've noticed, and particularly in the emerging priestess culture, it's actually a sign of sexual availability. It's not that same, it doesn't feel that same kind of healing, holy, contemplative, reverent, invigorated female power. It feels performative, attention seeking, hungry, fearful, alluring, and enchanting, but not necessarily in a good way. It feels like showgirls rather than priestesses. And I have asked myself a number of times over the past several years if in some way I contributed to the formation of that culture unwittingly by being a naked priestess. Was I doing that? But I've thought about it, and I mean, I never advertised it that way. I never like put it that way. I never made it sexy. And I never made it about the male gaze. I never made it so that my picture is actually for the male gaze, trying to attract women who are trying to attract the male gaze. So I hope I haven't contributed to it unwittingly, but I think it's a really, yeah. And Chrissy asks, is it part of being a maiden versus a mother versus a crone? This is a really good question. You know, in my vision, there's 13 spokes of that wheel. So it's not just maiden, mother, crone. It's like, there's like maiden and Amazon and blood sister and warrior and priestess and sorceress and dark mother and bright mother, you know, but yes, I mean, my friend Ava of the Goddess Temple of Orange County teaches about the bright maiden and the shadow maiden, the bright mother and the shadow mother, the bright queen and the shadow queen, and the bright crone and the shadow crone. And what she says is like the bright maiden is like that innocent Artemis, self-empowered, running through the forest. No man may gaze upon our mysteries without our permission. It's all about permission and consent. But that the shadow maiden is the one who's like always licking the lollipop, always has the look like as if you're like looking at her while she's giving you head, for example. That's like a very classic look in photos and stuff. She says the shadow maiden is so hungry for attention that she sort of puts her body out there on display and makes it available for whoever comes along because she so yearns for love. And you know what? I totally know what it feels like to be that maiden. I totally know what it feels like to so yearn for love that I put myself out there with people and for people who really didn't deserve it, really hadn't earned my trust, really hadn't earned my intimacy. And yet I gave it, you know, and I don't have a lot of regrets in my life. I'm kind of like, well, it happened, but it's nonetheless something that now that I see it in a different way, I do feel responsible for ensuring that people think about this a little more. And so like bright mother would be like nurturing and loving, but shadow mother is like overbearing, domineering. Bright queen is like married to the good of humanity. Dark shadow or shadow queen in her gaze in her schematic is like you will obey me, and is like very is kind of like mean. And how would I like, who's a good shadow queen in our culture right now? You know, I think that well, I think Elizabeth Thatcher was a shadow queen in a way, because a lot of her policies were actually very racist, xenophobic, and there's a lot that she did that was good, but but the way she wielded her power, I think in some cases was very harmful. So that's one. And then there's the bright crone and the shadow crone, and the bright crone is like, has shed the husk of regret. She's happy. She's living in the now. She's, making her pasta sauce and laughing with her grandchildren. She's having a good, like a good day out on the golf course, whatever. The shadow crone is the embittered who can't let go, who's resentful of her life, who's got to put everyone down. And so learning not to go shadow crone for me, even though I'm still technically a mother phase, but I was born a crone. So like, I've been 78 since I was 3. That embittered, I have to really watch that in myself. And so I do think that these archetypes have resonance, and that all archetypes, if we were to analyze the warrior or the blood sister or any of these other archetypes that we might choose from, also have their bright and shadow sides. And so I think whenever you're working in your mandala, especially if you work to bring in any kind of archetypal energy, look at what its bright and shadow sides might be. And look for this, because I think what we're seeing now is that the bright priestess archetype is servant to humanity, who is, I took my 3 vows when I was ordained a high priestess, which I wrote myself because Z didn't give me vows, but I felt the need to have vows being a grown-up Catholic. So I wrote my own vows, were I am whole and complete unto myself. I have no need for outside validation. I am of service without being subservient. Yeah, it was very Catholic. And yes, so, we have to beware the shadow crone, and Mia resonates with, I have also, been that shadow maiden. And I think if we really, exactly, a shadow maiden is overabundant in young women who've been abused. That's so, so spot on. And so I think that if we as a priestesshood could hold the best possible view of our sisters out there, right? Because if we're in service to all women, we're in service to them too, even if we find what they're doing harmful or annoying or grating or challenging. If we can get to the very best place in our circle of how we are with this, I was thinking it might feel something like, sister, may we all have everything we need to be the very best we can be. And that would include the resources and the wisdom. It addresses everything. May we all have exactly what we need to be the best priestesses we can be. And leave it there. And drift away. And like I often say, yes, may we each have enough. I often will sort of say about the internet that my new way of dealing with things on the internet that I don't like is that I look at it and then I just turn into a ghost and I just drift away. I'm like, oh, I'm going. And I just, because otherwise I'm there, or I'm mad, or
that's why I unfriended. That's why I got rid of my personal profile.
Yes.
I did. I don't have any friends on my personal profile. I have my page and I have my profile just for groups.
Yes.
Because I found myself typing out these long, just ragey, whatever, to all this various drama here and there. And I was like, this is not, those are not my monkeys. That is not my circus. Yeah. And now, but it's like I get jittery sometimes. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
With anyone on the internet in a couple days? Like, what's going to happen?
What's going on? And I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to do right now? And I'm like, why don't you go read or right. Play a game with your grandkids or work on your art and I'm like, oh yeah, I can do all that now instead of being on face crack all the time.
To what we are doing rather than what we aren't. And
Correct.
all of our sisters having absolutely everything they need, including money, healing, time, education, inspiration, reverence for elders, genuine visitations from Goddess that they can't ever ignore. Like everything, may they and we have everything we all need, and may all women have everything we all need to move beyond this particular paradigm, because I want us to be able to have wholesome critique of the practices that we find detrimental, and at the same time for that to never devolve into us shaming any other woman for not knowing better, honestly, because I think when they do, you can tell. And I'm kind of at the point in this where I'm like, you haven't been here for long, have you? Okay. Well, I think your nails look real pretty too, but we have to now take care of all of these dirty floors over here. So why don't you get an apron and come help me? Like, right? Like that's where I'm at. Is like, oh, you're new here? Oh, I'll show you how it's done. Let's get to work. So let's just each do our part and try to be effectively critical so that our own practice can be better without becoming bitter. And I'm only saying that because I need to work on it too. So it's not me saying we shouldn't complain. It's me saying I have to check it in myself as well. Sisters, we're over time, but thank you for staying a little later today. And for those who didn't get to be here in person, we miss you, we love you. We hope that you'll join in with us in the next round, November, before our retreat. And I'm looking forward to seeing many of you at the retreat, and looking forward to our next steps in this path. So much love to you all, and thank you for your views and sharing, and a wonderful day. And I do invite you to contemplate the next steps in how we will form a council together and have more discussions like this. And I do think that our council meetings might be more like 2 hours rather than an hour, because I don't really think I can keep it in an hour myself. Oh, there you go. I'm really good at a 1 hour ritual. I'm really bad at a 1 hour meeting. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.